forth.
Welcome, Mr. McAllister. I am so excited that you're here with us to discuss transplant donations. You're a personal friend of mine that I've known for several years, and I discovered that you needed a transplant. Because of that, I decided that maybe, like me, the public doesn't understand what it entails to have a transplant. So as a result, I want to speak to you on your personal journey, okay? So the first thing is, when did you discover that you had an issue and might need a transplant?
Well, first, let me thank you for inviting me to speak and have this open dialogue with you about transplantation. And because it's a long journey, and there's a lot of misunderstanding and misinformation out there. But in my own personal research, I've come across all kinds of information, volumes and volumes. But the problem is no one really understands what transplantation, and as it relates to kidneys, what it really is and what's involved in it. So first, let me just thank you for giving me this opportunity to kind of bring this forward. Now, to answer your first question, when did I discover that I had a problem? The thing about kidney failure, which people don't understand, it doesn't just start unless there's an accident, somebody's involved in an accident, and then they have acute kidney damage, so which is repairable very quickly. But chronic kidney disease, which most African Americans have, starts with high blood pressure and sugar diabetes.
Really? High blood pressure and sugar diabetes.
So, you start going to the doctor and they say, well, your pressure's kind of high. We got to get your pressure under control. You said, okay, eat less salt, drink more water. Next thing you go to say, well, you're pre-diabetic. So you're pre-diabetic. All the time, they never tell you that the high blood pressure and the diabetes is affecting your kidney. So it's been my experience, and what I tell everyone, when you're at the doctor, ask your doctor, what is your kidney numbers? Or when they give you this medication, how does this medication affect my kidneys?
So let me make sure I understand. Yeah. So diabetes and high blood pressure are directly related.
Directly related.
So even if you're pre-diabetic,
right,
you should ask, how does this impact my kidney?
Yes, absolutely.
And if you're taking high blood pressure medicine,
how does it impact my kidney?
And then you ask for your kidney numbers.
Yes.
Do you know the range, what's good a number for kidney and what's a bad number?
Generally, and this is going to mean I'm not a medical doctor, so they're
Sure.
never going to give you, just based on my research. For a young, healthy person, the range is about 70 to 100. That's the GFR, and that stands for glucomerular filtration rate.
Could you repeat that, please?
Glomerular filtration rate, GFR.
Yes.
So whether the first word is correct or not, just remember the GFR.
Understood.
And that measures how your kidneys is filtering the blood or taking impurities out of your body. And as you get older, that rate goes down. So the fear, well, what happened to me personally, the doctor tells me one day, I'm there and say, well, your GFR is around 30%. I say, is that good or bad? What does that mean? I didn't know what that meant at that time. They say, well, we're going to keep an eye on it, but, you need to start doing these things. And so another time I go back, then it's down to 25%. So the GFR is going lower and lower. So then you get worried because what is the GFR? What does it
relates.
And so they say, well, then I asked someone, I said, well, the lower your GFR, the more likely you're going to be on dialysis. And if you have a GFR about 15, you can probably continue to operate, but it's going to be at a lower decreased level. At 10%, you really need to consider dialysis. Next thing I know, my GFR was down to 10%. And so that whole process took about 2 years.
2 years. 2 years. As it declined, as your GFR declined.
Right.
But you was going to the doctors for years.
Doctors, yeah.
Unfortunately, a lot of our black men they don't go to the doctor. And if they go to the doctor, they carry it on in an ambulance. But you're not one of those men.
No.
You were going to the doctor on a regular basis.
Yes.
And no one picked that up. With the diabetes or the high blood pressure, there was an issue, and they made no connection.
Well, just to say that there was no, I'll tell you what my experience is.
Okay.
Doctors do not understand completely the relevance between diabetes, high blood pressure, and kidney failure. They know medically that happens, but the more research and study you do, because if you're going to probably have some people come in and talk to you, and they're going to tell you that, well, now there's been more studies done. Now we can track and trend this better, but they don't really know how to treat. And I hate to say this, black people or black men specifically with kidney failure.
Well, I don't hate to say it, is the reality.
It's the reality.
So, and the public needs to understand this. Okay.
Well, just within the past couple of years, and I know we're moving off topic, they've discovered that African Americans are subject to something called the APO1 gene, which is a gene that is genetically or inherent to African Americans of North African descent. And so if you're an African American of North African descent, you're more prone to get kidney failure. Now this is a study, and it's ridiculous. Not ridiculous. It's mind-boggling to understand that. Doctors know about it, but they don't understand it.
They don't connect it.
They don't know. They don't understand it, because APO1 gene is you have to do a genetic test to get it, but then you have to study African Americans to find out who of us really are prone to the APO1 gene defect. But the good thing about that is that that APO1 gene, for example, if I have it, that's why I have been able to not catch malaria, because the gene also counteracts malaria in black people. So like sickle cell counteracts one other, I can't remember what it is, but those genetic defects really have a positive effect on another area, except for chronic kidney disease.
I understand.
So hopefully the next guest that you have will have some information on the APO1 gene.
Well, because of your interview now, that's one of the questions that I would ask him about, because I'm developing the questions for him as well. Like I said, there will be a series. So once it took 2 years.
About 2 years.
For them to determine that you need to be on dialysis. And there's nothing they could have done in between to
slow the progress
yes.
of the kidney. We did everything we could, but that's what I'm saying. I don't think the doctors really understand that while you're still taking your diabetes medication, your hypertension medication, and it's still affecting the kidney. So
what you mean they did everything they could? Give me an example of some of the things outside of the medication that they did. Was there anything?
Nothing.
Ooh.
Nothing outside of the medication. Once my kidney started declining, it was really on me to try and find the best doctors and the best treatment options that I had. One of the things I did, I changed doctors, I changed hospitals, I did my research. I found out that, within in New York, the Mount Sinai and New York Presbyterian had the best kidney transplantation centers and some of the best doctors. So, as a matter of fact, let me just back up. When I was going to the doctor, my kidney was declining. I had a fellow there. She was from Montefiore, and she had trained at Mount Sinai. And she suggested, look, if your kidneys are declining, you need to get up to Mount Sinai because they have the best treatment options up there, which is what I did. So I did do that, but she was a scientist, so she really studied the nephrology. But they couldn't treat you. There's really no treatment for ESRD, that's end-stage renal disease. There's no treatment for that. Just dialysis or transplantation.
Okay, so there are a couple of types of dialysis treatment, but can you discuss both types and then the type that you're on?
Well, there are actually three types.
Oh, three. Okay, cool.
There's hemodialysis and home dialysis. Then there's peritoneal dialysis. Now, the hemodialysis is when you go to the center 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and whatever it is, Saturday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, and you're there for like 3 to 5 hours at least. And what they do, they hook you up to a machine, and that machine takes the blood in and out of your body and then washes it, puts it back in. That's one. Hemodialysis, home dialysis is pretty much the same thing. The machine is at your home, and you have to have a partner there who helps you operate the machine, because they have to watch you while you're on that machine going through the whole process. But at least you do it in the comfort of your home. And that's just as draining as the other one, but at least you're home. Then there's peritoneal. Peritoneal is the one that really few people know about. Some of the doctors don't even understand it, but the peritoneal is a at-home dialysis treatment. You do it at night. You go to what happens? They do an implant. They put something inside your peritoneal cavity, and there's a fluid at night. You hook yourself up, and you do it during while you sleep. And then when you wake up, you're done. Then you empty your solution, then you're fine. That one is the one that I chose, the peritoneal, because it's safer, it's less aggressive on the body. Sometimes you still feel weak occasionally, but not as you would with the hemo, where they take all the blood out the body and put it back in. But the problem with I guess the problem with the peritoneal is that it's at least 9 hours at night, so that's why you do it when you sleep.
But can you sleep? I mean,
most of the times you can sleep.
Okay.
Yeah. Only time you have problems when you occlude the line, or you crank the line, and the fluid can't go through it, and the machine just beeps and wake you up. Then you got to get up and move and stuff.
Okay.
But other than that, if everything is fine, you can just sleep right on through the process.
Wow. That's I'm glad you have chosen a treatment that works for you.
In addition to that, there are a whole lot of things that I would love to talk about, but we're not going to have enough time.
Give me a few of those, because this is very interesting.
Yeah, I am on the transplant list.
Okay, that's where I was going
and,
next.
So I was on the transplant list before I got on dialysis.
Oh, you can do that. You can be on the list before.
Oh yeah, because once your kidney starts declining, you go to a transplantation center. They put you through a whole battery of tests to see where you are, and if you are eligible or qualified, then they list you, because some things will make you ineligible to get a transplant.
For example,
let me give you bad heart.
okay.
A bad heart, you may not, because what happens, what people don't tell you, is a lot of people die on hemodialysis in the center.
Really?
And they die from heart attacks.
Oh.
They don't even report that kind of information. You get that from your research and your study, and you see, and I forget, there are a couple other things that just preclude you if you're too overweight, because then they tell you have to lose a certain amount of weight. Some people can't even become donors if they have medical issues.
Well, I heard now that even hepatitis, if you had hepatitis, they would accept your organs.
They will.
And it's a few other, except
that when you talk to them, because they take Hep C kidneys. So if someone had hepatitis, I could get the kidney. They take cadaver kidneys that someone died. They take what's the other one? There's another one. They take I can't think of the other one right now. It'll come to me.
Okay.
But they do. You can't get those except they don't have that many of them around. They're not doing it, because I asked. I said I'll take a Hep C kidney. Well, it would, but we're not doing it.
And but I understand if you take, for example, a Hep C kidney, you can get that disease.
Yes,
But it's treatable.
It's treatable. It's curable.
Yeah,
Not
curable.
even
Okay,
treatable. It's curable.
okay.
It's curable. So that's the thing. It is curable now. Hep C is curable.
Yes, yes.
So yeah. So
Yeah, it's a few others. Now, do you know if you had COVID, they accept your organs? Do you know that?
that I do not know.
Okay.
I would assume they should, and they would, because, and they should during our crisis here in New York, because we had a lot of people dying.
I know.
But the problem there is that people are not on the donor list.
Yes.
So they just can't take it. You got to be on that donor list.
Exactly.
Yep,
So what are your thoughts about telling our readership why it's important to be on a donor list while you're alive or when you're deceased? What's the importance?
One of the things that I did when I knew that I was going to need a kidney transplant, because I was already on the dialysis, I had a forum, and I invited a doctor, one of the leading nephrologists, to come and speak to my family and other people of my block association. So he came, and he was very candid and upfront. He said, look, he said, within our community, he says, it's hard to get donors. And he said, and the reason is myriad, a myriad of reasons. A lot of it goes back to the fact that when we used to be
Guinea pigs.
exactly guinea pigs, and he said that. He said, but the flip side of that, in some of the other communities, when there's a person who needs an organ, they line up outside the door. When one is rejected, there's somebody that's right in place, to take their place. They were not with us. So he was very candid about that.
Can you provide his name? Because I would like, if you can remember, or call me, because I would like to give him a phone call, and perhaps he can be a part of the series that we're doing, because I really think it's a very important topic.
Yeah, what I will do, I didn't want to just put his name out there without
His
speaking
permission.
to him.
I understand.
And I will, because he's a very kind of renowned gentleman, and I will speak to him and ask him if he wouldn't mind. And I'll tell him what I did. I said, look, I just did a little interview, conversational, and had a wonderful lunch at the same time. So
That's to come. That's to come.
and made it worthwhile.
So how long have you been on the transplant list?
I've been on the transplant list going on 3.5 years.
Wow, and it's
But I've
usually a
been
long
on-
time.
Yes, and I've been on dialysis 3 years in March. Now, what people don't realize is that in terms of longevity, being on transplant is not that long. If you're a young person between 20 and 50, you can probably last, life expectancy is about 10 to 20 years.
That's after you had the transplant.
No, that's just on dialysis.
Oh, dialysis, okay.
If you are 70 and over and on dialysis, the life expectancy is 3 to 5 years. So they don't tell you all that is in research that's coming from different places now.
But see, you were talking about on the list, waiting for a transplant, right? But then my research, and I'm still researching, stated that the longevity, even after you have a transplant, is based on age, and you might not max out 20 years. Life, I mean, you might not live 20 additional years after you have it.
Oh, absolutely no.
It's a short.
It's still 5 to 10 years.
There you go.
It's still 5 to 10 years.
But listen, some people would take it. I mean, you would take it.
Gladly take it.
Yes, exactly. So that's what, and I thought that was strange. So when that happens, do you get another kidney? I mean, if it's, say, for example, 5 years, so are you a candidate, do you know, for another kidney?
That's if you have someone who will give you one. I don't think they're going to put you at the top of the list.
Okay.
What happens, and they don't know, the other thing that we could talk to donors about is if you want to be a kidney donor and you donated your kidney to someone, at any point in your life span that you need a kidney, you go right to the top of the list
Exactly.
for a transplant. So you don't have to be on that waiting list.
Yes.
Now, the other thing about kidneys that I meant to mention is that there's different types of donations. There's a swap.
That's what I was going to, you're reading my mind, because that was my next question.
There's a swap. Now, that means you may not be a match for me, but you may be a match for somebody else. Well, you say, I want my kidney swapped for Mr. McAllister.
Exactly.
So I'm going to give my kidney to John Doe or Jane Doe over here, and Mr. McAllister gets his kidney from the list already. So it's a swap. So I really haven't jumped in front of anybody.
Yes.
I just swapped.
Yes.
Because what would have happened is I had a family member or anyone who was a match that wanted to donate a kidney. I don't have to wait 5 to 10 years.
Exactly.
I go right to the head of the line.
Exactly.
And so that's why I'm very excited and positive. I feel confident that I will get a kidney.
Because it could be a swap.
Yeah, because you never know where your blessing is going to come from.
Exactly.
So
you know what I noticed? Your skin is gorgeous, beautiful, and a lot of people that have kidney dialysis, their skin turns dark. It's not the same. Do you know what's? I know you're not a doctor. You're just giving me your personal experience. But you know what that's from?
Because my body's not going through the harsh treatment of the hemo.
Ooh.
Right
Okay.
now, and the thing about peritoneal dialysis, my diet restrictions are not the same. I can pretty much eat what I want to eat. With the hemodialysis, you can have a lot of potassium. People don't eat bananas. They don't drink water.
You can't drink water. It seems like you need it to cleanse your body, even though they are using not transfusion, but dialysis to clean your body.
When I say they can't drink as much water. Let me just say not as much.
Okay.
Very little water. So so that's what I would attribute to my skin maintaining.
Because you look gorgeous. You look really great.
Thank you very much.
Right.
Yeah.
In conclusion, anything else you want to say before I ask you to speak into the cameras and tell people again why it's important to be on a donors list?
Well, let's see. My research has shown that even though we are 12% of the population, we account for 31% of the kidney
Requirements.
Yeah.
People that need transplants.
People need transplants. Now, of those numbers, last year's numbers say there were 785,000 people who had kidney failure. Of that, there was 550,000 on dialysis, and of that, 229 only lived after the kidney transplant. So, just to look at the numbers, we need more donors. We need more people having more information about kidney failure, and they need to understand that kidney failure is there's a difference between end-stage renal disease and kidney failure. End-stage renal disease is when you're stage 5, stage 4, stage 5. Because when they start talking about kidney failure, so stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, you can live with that and you can conduct your life and do whatever. But when they get to 4 and 5, that's when it becomes serious. You know, dialysis, your life expectancy is not long, and you can't do the things you used to do. So that's one of the reasons,
And so we have this series because we really want people to understand the importance of donor transplantation and to give organs. And even on your driver's license, when you're deceased, it's very important to say yes.
Organ donor.
To organ donor. And for me, I was one of those folks. Before I started doing research, I was one of those research, and this is silly, you're gonna laugh when I say this. I used to say I want all my body parts because I want to go to heaven. I want to be complete. I told you it was stupid. I told you it was silly before I said it.
But we all thought that way.
Yeah, and now I understand that it's extremely important to give this gift. And eyes, heart.
It's the gift of life.
And yes, and I do understand that, and I want to change my driver's license to do so.
Well, I did once, and like don't. It's not silly because prior to my health issues, I was the same way. But once I had the issue, organ donor. I'm an organ donor on my license, and I'm organ donor every time I go to the hospital. I sign that organ.
That's a good point too.
So because that way, then they have no restrictions. Any usable part, take it. And use
Exactly.
it.
Well, listen, I appreciate you being here. I love you, and I wish you Godspeed.
Well, thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
It has been my pleasure.
Okay.
I would like to do this again because there's a lot more about kidney disease, kidney transplantation
Well,
that we need to have out there.
That's a good point because we're running the series. We will have more interviews February the 6th. We're going to start running the series for March, and it'll be 4 parts. So once you get back to me and see if the doctor said it's okay to come, and then we'll have you back because we may have more questions. And I enjoyed our presentation, and I love our friendship.
Same here. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.